Hey man, I'm Chris with Phone Cats, and here is another Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalker 2014 expansion Lord of Darkness deck list strategy analysis. Okay, we're gonna go through the cards that I'm playing with and the cards that I'm not. Same old, and dude, this demon deck is hard to win with, for me at least. It has some board wipes, it has some removal, it's mono black, so you're not going to be worried too much about getting land screwed or anything like that, but it's very peculiar. I'm looking at other people's threads on the forums and deck lists and stuff like that, and I don't know, man. I don't play it very much, but let's go through in order of casting cost. You got 1 Innocent Blood. Each player sacrifices a creature. Obviously, you want to do this whenever your opponent has a creature and you don't have any. I wish there was more than one of those. It does kind of play into a sacrifice mechanic. There's that, there's Diabolic Edicts, and there's a couple other cards down the line to where someone's going to be sacrificing a card. God, I've actually looked at the new art for Diabolic Edict. That is crazy. Breaking that little human vial? Dang. So there's some sacrifice mechanics, and then there's these weirdo Mortician Beetles. 1 mana for a 1/1 insect. Whenever a player sacrifices a creature, you can put a +1/+1 counter on this beetle. So I don't know who's winning games with Mortician Beetle decks, but more power to you, dude. I'm just gonna kind of sprint around and see if I can find any other sacrifice mechanics. Oh, bingo bango, here's a big one. Grave Pact. 4 mana, whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. I don't even know. With 2 Grave Pacts, if No Mercy had a sacrifice mechanic, that would be crazy. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. I almost wish it was sacrifice it. And it's really crazy because this gets around targeting, doesn't it? Like something that's hexproof still gets destroyed. It doesn't even say target. And that's the big thing. This won't work on Indestructible, so take that into account, but I'm already getting way ahead of myself. Okay, so we talked about those beetles. Here's these Festering Goblins. Really cool to me, man. This is like the old school, I almost said Mog's Goblin Raiders, which is the most basic 1 mana for a 1/1 goblin. But these are like Mog Fanatic. It's 1 mana for a 1/1 goblin, and then when it dies, target creature gets -1/-1. So you can't hurt a player or pop them for 1 damage, but you can kill a creature. And if you chump block with this and then it dies and you give something -1/-1, I don't know, it's almost like a 2/1 in that aspect, or some kind of weird Bushido style. Sacrificial Bushido. Suicidal Samurai. You got some Foul Imps, which are very peculiar to me. 2 mana for a 2/2. When Foul Imp enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life. This deck has a lot of life loss mechanics in it, man. You're beating yourself up a lot. And that's kind of normal for mono black, but let's keep rolling. Okay, so right now I'm messing around with these Onyx Mages. 2 mana for a 2/1. Oh, I didn't even know it was 2 mana to activate his ability. But 2 mana, target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. So basically this dude can chump block anything. And now any one of your creatures can chump block anything. I almost feel like this deck has a little bit in common with the red-blue deck. And there's going to be some people that run a build that has no weenie creatures in it. So a big deciding factor is if you're going to be running the weenie creatures or not. I bet there's people out there that are running the Mortician Beetles, running these Festering Goblins and Foul Imps, and then people are just afraid to attack. Because all their stuff would either die from a No Mercy, either a Grave Pact thing where one of your dudes is going to die and then they're going to lose their dudes. I still haven't tried the weenie build of this deck, but let's keep moving. These Onyx Mages, if you're playing the weenie build, any creature you control now kills one of your opponent's creatures. And if you get a Grave Pact out with an Onyx Mage and manage to keep playing creatures, you're in a sweet spot. Every one of these videos, these aren't even real strategy vids, man. These are me live discovering things. And I don't know what the best build is by any means. This is just me and you like shooting the breeze about these cards. Heartless Summoning is the backbone of some builds of this deck. It's 2 mana, enchantment. Creatures you control cost 2 less to cast, and creatures you control get -1/-1. So weird. Creatures you control get -1/-1. So you don't want to play that, it seems like, if you're playing the weenie build. I mean, it suicides your Mortician Beetles, unless you've already had a sacrifice mechanic happen, which is really weird. It'll kill your Festering Goblin. It still gets to do -1/-1 though. It'll kill your Onyx Mage. So I don't know. It's really cool if you manage to hit a Grave Pact. And then each one of these little creatures becomes a removal spell, especially if it instantly dies and you don't have to worry about blocking. But Heartless Summoning shines with the 5 mana spells and up. Your god play, like your god hand or best play possible, is turn 2 Heartless Summoning, turn 3 Fatty Demon. Hopefully the one that does card draw that we'll get to later. But just look at the, I don't know, the lack. It's not flexibility, it's like synchronicity, or I don't even know. There's a certain word for it. Whatever, let's keep rolling. Exhume, 2 mana. Each player puts a creature card from his or her graveyard onto the battlefield. I don't know if this is a late game bomb that you're supposed to do, or an early play if you're playing the weenie deck, just to like hopefully get another weirdo Mortician Beetle on the battlefield, or what the goal is. Very peculiar, but that wraps up the 2 drops that I'm not playing with. Okay, so we touched on those Diabolic Edicts. Next in line is these Doomblades. 2 mana, destroy target non-black creature. In this meta, you're gonna run up against a lot of black decks, dude. There's the Dragon deck, there's Demon deck, there's Zombie deck, there's Dimir. There's a lot of times where these Doomblades are going to be dead cards. Not to mention the red-blue deck that doesn't even run creatures in a lot of the builds. There's a lot of ways you can shoot yourself in the foot with that, so be careful. I've thought about not even running them. Infernal Tutor. More of what you have is what this is. 2 mana, reveal a card from your hand. Search your library for a card with the same name as that card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Then shuffle your library. I didn't even know about Hellbent. If you have no cards in hand, instead search your library for any card and put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. So that's kind of neat. But any card that you have, you can go grab another copy of it. And I don't even know what the best play is going to be. Probably saving that for late game, or maybe grabbing a second Damnation is what I've seen a lot. We'll get to Damnation in just a second. Next up is Suit Imp. Really cool. 3 mana for a 1/2 flyer, so even if you play Heartless Summoning, he still stays a 1/2 and doesn't suicide himself. Really cool part is flying, so it can be a little mini chump blocker if you're dealing with some weird spirit tokens or something. And whenever a player casts a non-black spell, that player loses 1 life. Pointless in mirror matches, but when you're playing against so many different decks, they're going to have a hard time with this. Any deck that wants to play a long game just got put on a clock. The red-blue deck will be scared, but they're just going to burn it, so that doesn't really matter. But they're going to lose life every time. Grave Pact, so dope. I mean, I love that the zombie deck had 1 of these. The fact that this deck has 2 is so cool to me, but I haven't really found a way to make it work. It could be the weenie build, and then just playing with all the small creatures and then Grave Pacts. But I don't know, man. It's such a strong card. You get so much card advantage. There's a creature in this deck that's a demon that basically turns into, that is almost another Grave Pact. So you have 3 different mechanics like that. I would love to build a Grave Pact deck and actually kill someone with a Mortician Beetle, or have them like see for the first time that this Mortician Beetle got out of hand and they couldn't even deal with it anymore as it became like a 6/6 or a 7/7. God, what if I just built a Beetle deck? Anyways, we talked about No Mercy for a little bit. Turn 4, it's an enchantment, so you're not doing anything for really like immediate board control, but every time a creature hits you for damage, destroy it. So your opponent's going to start saving up their creatures for their Alpha Strike where they're going to kill you. So that in its own right is delay. And like we said, it gets around hexproof, so that's really cool. Diabolic Servitude is insane to me, man. It's like infinite graveyard recursion. It's gonna go great in my Mortician Beetle deck. It's 4 mana enchantment. This black deck has a lot of enchantments, dude. There are certain builds of this to where you're running so many black enchantments. Heartless Summoning, and then you play a Grave Pact, and then you play a No Mercy, and then you play a Diabolic Servitude. The whole side of your board where enchantments go are going to be stacked. And I haven't seen very much enchantment removal at all. Look at the art for this card before we get started. That's so sick that he has all these things coming out of his nipples, his belly button, his ears. Disgusting. And look at his keeper. That dude controlling an obvious archaic remote control, and all he has is a mouth and his hand on the joystick. Okay, back to it. 4 mana, when this card enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Bam, a creature back on the field. When that creature put onto the battlefield, when the creature put onto the battlefield with Diabolic Servitude dies, exile it so it's gone, and return Diabolic Servitude to its owner's hand. So every time that that creature dies, it gets exiled, and this thing bounces back to your hand, and then you have a new choice for creatures. Keep in mind it's only creatures in your graveyard, but that's, I don't know, that's normally legit. That's just infinite graveyard recursion. If they can't kill Diabolic Servitude, every turn you're going to be getting something out of your graveyard. You just got to make the right choices. Like, you wouldn't want to be grabbing Foul Imps or anything that's going to hurt you. You got to be really careful. Let's talk about some more 3-drops I'm not running. These Soul Cage Fiends are really weird. This deck has a lot of self-hurt. It's masochistic like that. And 3 mana for a 3/2. When Soul Cage Fiend dies, each player loses 3 life. A lot of the aggro decks are going to be fine when they see you drop this. They're not going to care. They're just going to know that they're going to kill the creature. Each player is going to lose 3 life. And then you're even closer on the damage clock. I don't think that there's even a build that would want to run those. Here's another weirdo card. Triumph of Cruelty. Apparently you can build this deck to be like a really strong discard deck. I don't know how strong it would be. I don't know why I said really strong, but here we go. 3 mana, another enchantment, and you see Liliana in the background. Yeah, she's even in the quote. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent discards a card if you control the creature with the greatest power, or tied for the greatest power. And demons love to hurt themselves, but have high power. So your 3-drop has 3. 2-drops have 2, meh. And your Mortician Beetle could get fat. But dude, would you even want to run all 4 of these? And then somehow get into the situation to where you have your opponent top decking so hard? I don't even know. And then if they're playing with tons of creature removal, this card does nothing. If they have the higher power than you, then this does nothing. I'm glad it doesn't bite you back. Like, if they have the highest power, that you don't have to discard a card. But very weird to me, dude. I mean, I would love to find the time to experiment with these, but I don't know. This deck's hard for me to play. Flavor text is pretty cool. I've seen corpses prettier than you, Beast Mage, said Liliana Vess. Who's the Beast Mage? Is that Garuk? I don't know magic lore. Screams from Within can be cool. It can be so cool. It's 3 mana, enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1. When enchanted creature dies, you return Screams from Within from the graveyard to the battlefield. This card will bite you back so hard, and it will wipe out 1/1s. Okay, so the other black deck got Shrivel, which gives all creatures -1/-1. Screams from Within does that 1 creature at a time in a weird way. If your opponent just played an Avenger of Zendikar and they have a whole bunch of trees in play, on your turn you cast Screams from Within. You target a token. It dies. This thing comes back into play, and you just go across all their tokens. If they're playing the zombie deck, you're going to be able to pick off a lot of zombies. If they're playing the human deck, you're gonna kill so many little weenie humans and spirit tokens and all kinds of goodies. The weird thing is that if you run out of opponent's creatures to choose, you have to cast it on one of your own creatures. So this deck is so weird. I'm not running Hideous Ends. It's just more removal with a little bit of life loss. It's 3 mana, destroy target non-black creature at instant speed, and its controller loses 2 life. It's just some weird middling that you can do besides Doomblades, where you're paying an extra black to deal 2 damage. And when you say it like that, it sounds like a good deal. Let's see. Alright, we're up to 5s. Yeah, I'm not running the Halo Hunters right now. That makes me feel crazy. We got Tendrils of Corruption. With all this self-hurt, here's one of your few instances of life gain. It's 4 mana, deals X damage to target creature, and you gain X life, where X is the number of swamps that you have. I mean, it's life gain, dude. It's at instant speed. It's a must play. This deck is always beating itself up, and it's always hanging on by a thread. You got 1 Mutilate. I wish there were more of these. 4 mana. All creatures get -1/-1 for each swamp you control. If you went second, your opponent's going to be able to outpace and Mutilate sometimes, and that really sucks. But if you went first, hopefully by the time you hit turn 4, these 4 will be enough to do it. Or you can slow play it and wait for later for an epic wipe if you think that they're going to keep dumping their hand. But most decks aren't going to dump their hand against this deck. They're going to slow play you and try to kill you with 1 creature. Fearing this. Damnation. Sick art, dude. I don't even know what that is. A black hole? And all those souls being sucked up to it? It is 4 mana. Destroy all creatures. They cannot be regenerated. Super strong. Next is Shadowborn Demon. The rest of the deck is fat demons and card draw. So it's basically make it until now and then try to stabilize. Some people are running the Shadowborn Demon, some people aren't feeling it. It's 5 mana for a 5/6. Seems cool. Flying. Seems cool. When Shadowborn Demon enters the battlefield, destroy target non-demon creature. This is the best card in the game. Oh wait. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are fewer than 6 creature cards in your graveyard, sacrifice a creature. That sucks. I don't know. You play it, you kill a creature, and then it stays alive for a whole turn. And then if you're playing the weenie deck, you're going to have some little weenie creatures to sacrifice. And when you sacrifice them, it's going to beef up that Mortician Beetle! I love that Beetle deck. I can't wait to make it and kill people. If I beat anyone with that Beetle deck, it's going to be so embarrassing. Next in line is Bloodgift Demon. This one is so clutch, dude. This is the one that I was talking about where you want to do your turn 2 Heartless Summoning, which is a 3 of, and then turn 3 Bloodgift Demon. If your opponent went second and you just ended your 3rd turn, you have a Heartless Summoning out and a 4/3 Bloodgift Demon, they're looking at a bad position. And then during your turn, you're going to pay 1 life to make yourself draw a card? So strong. I've lost games playing against this deck, and they killed me with a Bloodgift Demon, and they... I don't even know if it was a misplay or if they were just clever enough to know that they could get me down to exactly 0 by making me lose life, and I couldn't stop them from doing it. But normally you're going to make yourself draw cards, and then this thing is a huge threat and like a small scale Necropotence or Graveborn Muse, to where every turn, pay 1 life, draw an extra card, and it adds up quick. Okay, now we're getting to juicy demons. I am running, those are my 5-drop demons that I'm running. The ones that I'm not running are still daunting. We'll open with the worst of the 2. Renegade Demon. Most decks shouldn't be running this, I think. 5 mana for a 5/3 demon, no special abilities. That's pretty crappy to me. It doesn't have flying, it doesn't even have any cool tricks. So pull it out, like that, it's really bad. End of story. Halo Hunter, the better alternative. The only disadvantage is it costs 3 black instead of 2, but we're playing mono black, so get out of town. Okay, Intimidate. This thing can only be blocked by black creatures. And look at the art. He's got feathers in one hand, halos in the other. This dude's killing angels. When Halo Hunter enters the battlefield, destroy target angel. So that means the white human deck is going to have a hard time with this. Who else? The Bant deck, blue, white, green, runs a decent amount of angels. And there might be another deck that I can't think of right now. Feel free to post in the comments and spread the word. Okay, here's some more similar cards, but not similar at the same time. Both of these are sorceries. We're going to talk about Harrowing Journey and Promise of Power. Harrowing Journey, 5 mana, sorcery. Target player draws 3 cards and loses 3 life. This can be a kill shot. You can do it to your opponent and kill them. Or you can do the normal thing and do it to yourself. And it's just like a small size Necropotence to where you're paying 3 life to draw 3 cards. Little weird. Hopefully you did this after a board wipe. Like a turn 4 Damnation, a turn 4 Mutilate, a turn 4 No Mercy would be enough to slow him down too. But then that's really scary. Even the Tendrils of Corruption on turn 4, then you're only gaining 4 life. I don't know. It seems weird to me, but a lot of people are running it and I want to experiment with it. Here's Promise of Power, the super version of that previous card. DOTP loves to do this to where they wouldn't give anyone 4 Promise of Power, but they'll give 2 Harrowing Journey and 2 Promise of Power. Or they wouldn't give 4 Hideous End or 4 Doomblade, but they'll do 2 of each. Same kind of situation. Promise of Power is really strong. 5 mana, sorcery, choose 1. You draw 5 cards and lose 5 life. So it's either a super dose of Harrowing Journey, or you have choices. Let's say you're hurting on life and you don't want to lose 5 life. You can put an XX Black Demon creature into the an XX Black Demon creature token with flying onto the battlefield, where X is the number of cards in your hand as the token enters the battlefield. That's okay. I mean, you would want to do that in a desperate situation to where it's just going to be a temporary chump blocker, almost the same way that Shadowborn Demon is, to where it's almost like a desperate play or just a delay. So do that if you must. But ideally, this deck's going to live till turn 9. And then turn 9 you cast this, you gain 5 life, you lose 5 life, you draw 5 cards, and then the creature comes into play. So even if you had no cards in hand, you're going to lose 5 life, draw 5 cards, and get a 5/5 demon. If you already had cards in your hand, it's going to get that much crazier. There's 2 of those, but with other draw spells, you're going to be able to hit them quicker. I mean, that seems like a game ender to me almost. If you're drawing 5 cards and putting in like at least a 6/6 or 5/5 flyer, that's so much card advantage. Reaper from the Abyss is the dude that really reminds me of Grave Pact. So Grave Pact costs 4 mana and has that sacrifice mechanic, and this thing only costs 2 more colorless mana. So it's 6 mana for a 6/6 flyer, and Morbid, which I didn't even know was an ability, at the beginning of each end step. If a creature died this turn, destroy target non-demon creature. It's so strong because it targets. So you get to choose what dies. With Grave Pact, it's only that player sacrifices a creature. So Grave Pact is related to Diabolic Edict, and then Doomblade is related to that Morbid Demon. Where'd you go? Reaper from the Abyss. So you start to benefit from every time that a creature dies. So I could see this being in the weenie build, or, I mean, it doesn't even have to be your creature. So if you're just running heavy removal and you kill one of your opponent's dudes, this Reaper from the Abyss is going to pick off another one. So, that last card, every time a creature died, another creature died. This one, whenever a creature dies, you may draw a card. So now we're getting into more card advantage and crazy card draw. Dude, I would love for this deck to work, but I haven't found a build that I'm in love with yet. With these Bloodgift Demons, that's card draw. Promise of Power, card draw. Harrowing Journey, card draw. This guy over here, card draw. And then everything else is just crazy removal. and weenie creatures. This deck isn't right. Like, the build that I have feels wrong. Something's off, and I can't figure it out yet. But if you can just survive late game, if you can survive to mid game, wipe the board, and then start getting into your card advantage and fat demons, this deck looks really fun. Here's a Corrupt. It's a 1 of, so gain all the life that you can. That art is so sick. It's a sorcery, so once again, this black deck is just all about doing these power plays on your turn, and then just hoping that your opponent has nothing going on. Corrupt deals damage equal to the number of swamps that you control to target creature or player, and you gain life equal to the damage dealt. So that's how you're going to recover. There aren't a lot of life gain mechanics in this deck, so you have to run that Corrupt, and you need to run both Tendrils of Corruption. And then you're just sprinting through your deck, drawing cards, trying to hit them to keep a positive life. Okay, Lord of the Void. Very weird to me. I've never looked at the art up close, and that is so sick. There's all kinds of other demons in the background. 7 mana, 7/7 flyer. When Lord of the Void deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 7 cards of that player's library, and then put a creature card from amongst them onto the battlefield under your control. That's so strong. So combat damage, it just hit them for 7. Exile the top 7 cards of that player's library and hope that you hit a creature. It's almost an alternative win condition. If you're playing against a deck that got you in some kind of weird pariah lock, or a deck that just gained way too much life, and the elf deck or life gain decks, lifelink decks, can just get way too much life to where all of a sudden it's going to be easier for you to mill them out than actually kill them. And this card speeds things up like crazy. Okay, you got a Runescarred Demon, 7 mana for a 6/6 flyer. When it comes into play, search your library for a card, put it in your hand. So strong. I mean, you're going to want to grab a Corrupt to gain life. When you're playing this on turn 7, it really sets you up for an easy turn 8 Reaver Demon. 8 mana, 6/6 flyer. When this thing comes into play, if you cast it from your hand, so it can't come back from the graveyard, destroy all non-artifact, non-black creatures. They can't be regenerated. Very strong. I mean, don't let the fact that they're non-artifact and non-black phase you too much. We don't even have the huge artifact deck yet, but there is going to be an artifact deck down the line. This also won't kill Eldrazi, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then once again, you're in trouble in a mirror match versus Dimir, versus zombies, and a slew of other ones. But that's it for the cards that I'm running right now. Some people are running this Hellcarver Demon, 6 mana for a 6/6. The ability is so suicidal. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you sacrifice all other permanents you control, including your lands, and other creatures, and all your enchantments. So I don't know, maybe there's like a build that's appropriate for this Hellcarver Demon, but it's just for people that are completely crazy and want the craziest games. So yeah, you sacrifice everything that you have, you discard your hand, and then you just bank on the top 6 cards of your library. You exile them, and you can play any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Dude, I didn't even know it was only non-land cards. I wasn't running this, and I thought that if you hit 3 swamps and 3 demons, you could put them all into play. But that's not even the case. Every swamp just gets exiled. And then you're just putting any cards that aren't land into play. It's very crazy. It's a weird gamble. And I don't know. If you hit fat demons, that's cool. But most of the time, I don't know. A Mutilate? No, Mutilate wouldn't do anything because you just lost all your swamps. God. And a Damnation would be bad. There's so many cards that would be bad, but I need to play with it and just see how it rolls. Oh my god, it's so weird to me. I don't get it. Lord of the Pit. This is the oldest card in the world, dude. Like, I remember seeing this whenever I first started playing Magic around, like, Revised. This is 7 mana for a 7/7 flying trample. They gave it new art, and he has some kind of, like, crazy demonic green insignia behind his head. It's really sick. Flying, trample, 7 mana, 7/7. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature other than Lord of the Pit. If you can't, Lord of the Pit deals 7 damage to you. Lord of the Pit reminds me so much of Shadowborn Demon. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are fewer than 6 creature cards in your graveyard, sacrifice a creature. So both of these guys are going to have you sacking creatures. So maybe there's a turbo white, or not turbo white weenie, a turbo black weenie build to where you're running Lord of the Pit, Mortician Beetles, Shadowborn Demons, and it's crazy. But I'm not feeling it. I mean, it does put your opponent on a 3-turn clock, so... And even if you can't sacrifice a creature, you still keep Lord of the Pit. He just deals 7 damage to you. So hopefully you did a sweet Corrupt, or you planned things out perfectly. And a Tendrils of Corruption maybe, and you have a game plan. But it's just another fat demon. Pestilence Demon, 8 mana for a 7/6 flyer. That his face looks so disgusting. That art is crazy. Much like the card Pestilence, you can pay 1 black. And Pestilence Demon deals 1 damage to each creature and player. As long as you have more life than your opponent, this card's probably going to win you the game. If you play this on turn 8, turn 9, you attack. Well, turn 9, you can Pestilence for up to 5, and hopefully that'll wipe out the board, and then attack. So you're going to deal 7 damage, so that's 7, and now since it's turn 9, you have 9 mana. So let's say after you attacked, after you wiped the board, then attacked, you popped for the rest. So you just dealt 9 plus 7, that's 16 damage in 1 turn. And then you don't even have to kill Pestilence Demon, like you could only do it for 5, and then next turn do it for 5 again, and that's GG, that's 12 a turn. It's crazy to me, dude. It does hit yourself though, so keep in mind that's another situation to where you gotta be digging for your Corrupts and Tendrils of Corruptions. Otherwise, you're dead. There's another Reaver Demon that I'm not playing with, and then there is a Demon of Death Gate. I guess I'll read it. It's really weird. 9 mana, 9/9, Flying Trample, Demon. You can pay 6 life and sacrifice 3 black creatures rather than paying Demon of Death Gate's mana cost. So, once again, if you're playing this weenie build with a couple late game freaking crazy zombies, if you get 3 creatures into play, you can sacrifice them, pay 6 life, and throw this thing into play. Just pray that your opponent can't pacifism it or do anything to kill it, because it's a real gamble. But that's it for this demon deck, dude. It seems like there's a lot of different ways to build this, and I would love to see a build to where foul imps are played and essential. But right now I just have this very control-y build going, and it hasn't been working out for me. So I need to try something else. That's it for this vid. I hope we stumbled across something that's new to you and something that you're going to have to try out. But yeah, scope this deck out, dude. It's mono black, you're not going to get land screwed, and that's always nice. Thanks for watching. Phone Cats.